Hey everybody, welcome to a different type of episode here at Baboony Tim Studios. This time we're doing some playtesting with none other, my opponent is none other than me. I'm playing Solitaire today. This time we're going to be testing out the Disciples deck that Gabe posted here on Discord. And in my mind, this is a perfect example of the Disciples deck. It has consistent ways to get to Matthew, pretty strong defense. And the reason why I chose this deck as one of the decks I wanted to play is because I am trying to get ready for nationals, and I want to get as many reps under my belt as possible right now with the decks that I'm thinking about wanting to try and play. And so a deck that I've really been considering is this Nativity Herod's deck, but I am worried about the Matthew matchup, that when Matthew comes and draws a bunch of cards, like, can this deck keep up with that? There are versions of Nativity that play the black cards and play Herdsman of Garage as a way to stop that. But I have really strong faith in Herod's, and their blocks are just really solid, and they can do a lot with very little. So I want to playtest the matchup to see if this deck can keep up with a kind of, maybe you would say, stock version of Disciples. And so that's what I'll be doing here today. And it is possible to playtest unlucky. You can load a deck into the test dummy, but I figured I have all my cards. Why not just have one screen do my cards down here, and then on the other screen do lackey? And I really like that idea. So this game, I'm really going to be not worrying about the timer. In real tournaments, you're going to have to be making all these decisions in like 30 seconds or whatever. But for this game, I'm really trying to just break it down for me. And hopefully you'll learn something too about this deck and these matchups. And that score right there. So I'm going to be Baboony Tim, which will be Nativity. Test Dummy is going to be running the Disciple Herod deck. And I'll only be able to show you cards on the Disciple side of the table, but that should be fine. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll be playing with perfect information, but I'm going to be trying to play as if I don't know what that perfect information is. So this will be a great guessing game. Okay. So Nativity, they have a Lawless Lost Soul, Crowds Lost Soul. Let's just try to make sure you can see everything. It's going to get probably really crowded on the Nativity side of things, because I have to not only keep my hand out here, I have to put Lost Souls and then Heroes and then evil characters and fortresses. So I just want to acknowledge that ahead of time. I don't have the option of zooming in or zooming out my cards right now. So I'll try to play as compact as possible, but still being able to see everything. So this will be quite the challenge. All right, and the Disciples, they have a Humble, they have a Hopper. I guess let me try to increase the size here for these guys. That's probably too big. All right, so I need to draw them 3 more cards. Okay, now I'm just going to do some evaluation on the hands before I see who goes first. So Nativity, they have John and Herod star abilities, and Angel Pier has a star ability, but that one's not really relevant right now. Nativity has a good way to get to the resurrection on turn 1. They play maybe a white hero, and they play the Angel Appears, which can go grab Resurrection Revealer. Resurrection Revealer can attack, grab the Resurrection, and ban to Zechariah and John. And that's pretty good with the Battle Winner backup. So they have a pretty strong turn 1. Let's see, Matthew. Matthew has Patmos. So you could go get Patmos, go to Peter. Peter play Fortress, ban to Matthew. And especially getting Peter is nice because you have the 4 drachma coin, which you can use to draw 4. All right, I'm gonna roll a die to see who can go first here. So I'm gonna do the first roll for Disciples. They rolled a 3. Nativity rolled a 1. So Disciples just to choose who goes first. I think as the Matthew player, you're always wanting to go first. The only problem is Nativity drew the Crowd's Lost Soul, so Matthew has to figure out, okay, how am I going to get around their Crowd's Lost Soul? Well, they have the Son of God, so I guess we're just going to use that to try and get rid of the crowds and draw some cards with Matthew here. Okay, so Matthew's going to go first. Let's see if they have any star abilities. You have the Authority of Christ, which I think I will use. I'm going to set aside Lazarus for 2 turns. On return, they will draw 3. Okay, any other stars here? I don't think so. And Nativity's turn. It's a pretty easy no-brainer to do Herod to top deck a dominant from each hand. And then John, top deck a good dominant from deck. So Herod is going to look at their hand, Their hand is currently not protected because this lost soul hasn't been activated yet. And so I'll get to look at their hand, which I see that they have Son of God and Falling Away in Matthew. So knowing that, I would love to get rid of Son of God. So I'm going to put the Son of God on top of their deck. And now that's shutting off their ability to rescue crowds. So that's big. That's a big. And then John's going to top deck a star ability, or sorry, a dominant for my deck. Thinking, because I could just top deck the Resurrection here. And that way I could use Angel Appears to grab Resurrection Revealer. Resurrection Revealer could go grab somebody like Magi or Joseph. And then the Resurrection could play. Yeah, I think I like that because I don't love getting Angel Appears to having to get Resurrection Revealer on turn 1. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the Resurrection. I do know I have the Lawless Lost Soul, which will trigger, and perhaps basically I need to figure out if I'm going to use Lawless to. Oh, so if I have Lawless, maybe what I can do, to guarantee that I get that Resurrection, I can go, maybe I can just get Crouch Choice. So I can Lawless and put Crouch Choice in my hand. That has the most flexibility, I feel like, for me. And plus, if they figure out a way to discard the top card of my deck, losing Crouch Choice is not the end of the world, whereas losing Resurrection would be pretty bad. So I'm going to do the safe play and the most flexible play, especially with Lawless, and I'll put Crouch Choice. Okay, so that's Nativity done with their star abilities. And now Lost Souls will activate. We have the Hopper hopping. Let me go find a Hopper token. We'll use this as the Hopper token redemption card. And then they have the crowds and they have Humble. Okay. And then let's see. Nativity, they have Lawless and they have crowds. So there's an argument for lawlessing the opponent. If I knew Matthew had a way to draw some cards right now, like I wouldn't want them drawing the Son of God off the top of their deck. So I could lawless them and they'd have to put their Son of God at the bottom of their deck. But I don't want to do that since I know that they don't have any ways to draw cards without shuffling their deck right now. So I'm going to lawless myself. So I get to do top 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No lost souls. I guess, so I had to choose either shield or crouch choice here. I think it's pretty easy to choose crouch choice because of how powerful that will be. Is John supposed to be in the main deck? Just a second. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So I gotta, sorry, John's not supposed to be in the main deck. Let me fix this. I feel like this doesn't affect the testing that much because I actually had 2 extra cards in here. So let me find those 2 extra cards and then shuffle my deck. Get back to the game. Okay, so yeah, John is supposed to be in the reserve, and Magnificat's supposed to be in the reserve. And let me flip another blind card here to replace John. I've flipped a Flight into Egypt. Okay, so those are going to the bottom. Look at all these stars. I would have loved to draw Flight, Virgin Birth, but they're at the bottom now. Okay, so now Lost Souls are done. That means we can go to turn 1 for Matthew. So Matthew, they skip their draw phase. They go to upkeep. They tick down Lazarus, who's in set aside area from Authority of Christ. And now they got to figure out what to do. So Crowd's Lost Soul is going to be negating Matthew's ability to look at my hand and draw cards. So they need to figure out what a Patmos, you can go shuffle your deck and go get Peter. And you can use 4 Drachma coin to draw 4 cards. And maybe, one of them is Crouch Choice or Son of God if you get lucky. So I feel like that's going to be what I'm going to do. Play Patmos, put that on, I don't know, this Lost Soul. We're going to go to deck, get that Peter. So I'm in Peter. Then we're going to activate the 4 Drachma coin onto Peter, and we will cash it in right away. I drew a Darkness Lost Soul. So let's see, Reassuring Angels, Book of the Covenant, Contagious Fear, Angel of the Winds. Don't think I drew a way to negate Crowd's Lost Soul. But Darkness is nice. So let's see, go to deck. So if I'm the Disciples player, I don't really have a clue about what my opponent's doing. I know they revealed a John and a Herod. So maybe I just go Deceiver here. If I'm worried about Nazareth as a Disciples player, then maybe I'm grabbing like a Herod here. But I think it's pretty safe to just grab the Deceiver in the blind. Put that back in my hand. Okay, and now I need to figure out who I'm going to be rescuing with. Let's see, Book of the Covenant. I'm going to turn that face down. Put that as face down artifact. So I can attack with Peter, grab a fortress from my deck, and ban to a disciple. Banning to Matthew would be not good because Nativity has a crowds out. Angel of the Winds could go to like Joanna or somebody. The only enhancement I have in my hand is Authority of Christ. Okay, so if I'm the Disciples player and I know that the evil character in my opponent's hand, one of them is Herod Archelaus, attacking with, Angel of the Winds into Joanna, is just going to get blocked by Herod. So maybe, although, it doesn't make the best sense to attack with Peter, banded to Matthew. That way, at least they can't just auto block me with Herod. So that's what I'm going to do. Attack with Peter, convert this to Meek to play Fortress from my deck. Let's see, how many fortresses is this deck playing? Playing Herod's Temple and Stable. What's going to be better? Fortress is good. Stable's also really good. So if I see that they're John, maybe I'm going to guess that they're also a Disciples deck, and that protecting my hand is going to be a valuable thing. And plus, I won't get screwed by Nazareth. So I don't know. I could see it going either way, but I'm going to choose to get Stable with Peter, and then Peter's going to band to Matthew. Matthew's not going to be able to do anything, and this is the attack. Okay, so the block here, Herod Archelaus, not really a good block anymore. Outsiders is a really great block here. So if I'm in Nativity, I know about the Deceiver, Herod Agrippa Authority falling away. I think I don't know 3 cards in his hand. So I think I'm going to do the Outsiders block. Let's see. The Disciples has clay, green, purple, and white, I guess. I'm not sure if it counts Lazarus or not. So if I block with Outsiders, I could underdeck 4 cards. So I could, in the way with default targeting, I can target guys in set aside area too. So I'm going to target Peter, Matthew, Lazarus, and Stable. These are all going to go to the bottom. And here's the cool thing about this block. Even if opponent had, oh wait, sorry. Before I do that, I'll do that. As the Outsiders player, if I do that, I would put them in special initiative. So I need to think. Do I want to put them in special initiative and just gamble on the fact that they don't have a negate? I think I do, because even if they have a negate, I have a reprimand repercussion, which would be another negate. So they need to have 2 negates, and they can't have the Ascension to ban a Lazarus. I think could they ban a Lazarus here off the Ascension? I feel like the risks outweigh. Or sorry, the reward definitely outweighs the risk here. So I'm gonna go the Outsider block, try to underdeck their 4 cards, because I think Lazarus is counting off of the Outsiders. X equals number of opponents' good brigades, and by default, it checks play and set aside area. Yep, so I'm going to go the Outsiders block, underdeck these 4 cards in this order. And so Outsiders, now X is number of opponents' good brigades. Opponent has 0 good brigades in play, so Outsiders is going to die. And this is the cool thing, because even if the Disciples player had a 3 woes, they couldn't woes it anymore because it's not a valid target. So yeah, really good first one block by Herod's. Outsiders really good. And as a Disciple player, I'm trying to think what I could have done to play around Outsiders. Maybe just attacking with Angel of the Winds, getting Joanna. But I don't know. Okay, I'm going to, let's see, pass the turn as the Disciples player to the Nativity player. I'm going to draw 3 cards. We have the Color Guard, Unity, Protect Evil Humans and Territory from Harm, Magi, Simeon, and a Herod's Guard. Can you see this? Barely, huh? Okay, so Nativity is about to pop off here, because I can use Crowd's Choice to go get the Resurrection. I can use Angel Appears to go get Messianic Messenger, I think. And then I can play the Resurrection, ban to John, Zechariah, and, maybe Simeon, make opponent, maybe the Magi to get a star card from deck, which I could get Star Bethlehem. And if I want to, I can play Star Bethlehem with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Nativity Heroes out, so I could draw 5 off of that. I know that they have a Herod Agrippa and a Deceiver. I have a way to get rid of Herod Agrippa at least for a turn. And if I'm attacking with John and Zechariah, I'd be preventing the next. So if they have a negate or something, and Zechariah is good against cards like Contagious Fear. So I think I'd only really be scared of Outsiders if I were to go for that play. Because, they do have the Deceiver. Deceiver can go get Outsiders. So maybe this is a double Outsiders angle. And let's see, if I put all those characters into play, I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brigades. So Outsiders would be 5. And they'd get to underdeck 5 different things, Is there any way I can get 3 woes out of my deck to try and negate Outsiders? I could put, how many characters could I put in the battle? I could put the Messianic Messenger is 1. I could put John, Zechariah, Simeon, Bandit to Magi. If I do Star Bethlehem before they block, I can activate John's star ability to top deck Three Woes and put that on my deck. And so if they go for the Outsiders block, whatever they do, I think I'll have a chance to negate that, unless they underdeck Outsiders. But if they're underdecking Outsiders and leaving some heroes in battle, I'm going to get a Lost Soul, so maybe that's fine. I still think I'm going to go for the big turn, especially because I can Star Bethlehem, get Three Woes. So first things first, I'm going to play down Magi. The Angel appears. Oh wait, no, before I have to make sure I have hand advantage. 1, 2, 3. So let's put down some more heroes. I know I'm going to have Zechariah in play. I know I'm going to have John. And then I'm going to play Angel appears since I have hand advantage. I go get the Messianic Messenger. So if I'm the Disciples player right now, I'm wondering, do I fire off this falling away, try to slow him down? You know, that's a tough question. Play Crouch Choice, get the Resurrection, and then maybe I play Golgotha now. Golgotha will grab Rhodius. And in order to guarantee that I have hand advantage for all these things I need to do, I think I'm going to have to put down some more stuff. So let's put down Rhodius. Let's put down, I don't know. The only thing bad about this is that by putting these guys down, it allows the opponent to ban to them. But if they ban to Herod Archelaus, I feel like that's not going to be a big deal. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this organized here. We have room for our heroes, room for our evil characters, room for my hand. The very bottom, how's that? Is that looking? It's doable, but it's not pretty. All right, I'm ready to go to combat. Disciples opponent, would you like to play dominant? So Disciples could falling away John, prevent the ban there. If could falling away Zechariah. You know, if I'm in the Disciples of spot right now, I don't know. I don't think I would blindly falling away something. So I'm not going to. I'd rather, you know, try to do something else with that. Okay, so I'm going to attack you with the Messianic Messenger. Go to my deck, grab a good Nativity card. I could grab, ooh, you know what I could do? I could use this guy to grab Flight into Egypt. Yeah, I really like that. I really like that. And then I could play the Resurrection before they block to play the Nativity, the Bethlehem Stable out. So put that way over there and get the Resurrection Revealer going. I will negate their neutrals now. And then I can ban to 3 into humans. So I'm going to ban to the Magi, Zechariah, and John. Okay. And I'm going to resolve the abilities. I'm going to do Magi, Zechariah, then John. So Magi says if opponent has hand advantage, I can take a star card from deck. So I'll take the Star Bethlehem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so Zechariah says if opponent has hand advantage, I can draw 2 cards. So I'm going to do that. Draw 2 cards. I drew Virgin Birth and Shepherds, which should be in the reserve. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. All right. I drew all the cards from my reserve. Now drew the Lost Soul Dole and the Annunciation. Okay. So Zechariah is preventing the next. John will reveal Star Bethlehem to toss the next, and I will draw 2. Through the cross and second coming. Okay, and now before blocks, I'm going to play Star Bethlehem. X is currently, oh, you know what? If I wanted to maximize X, I should have put these guys out ahead of time. So I'm going to do that. In a tournament, I would not be able to do that, but I'm just trying to learn to maximize right now. So X would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. X would be 5. I could do 5 different star abilities. I'm going to definitely do Flight into Egypt. So that's 1. Definitely do Virgin Birth. 2. Maybe Annunciation to look at their hand. 3. John the Forerunner, top deck a good dominant. 4. Star Bethlehem to draw cards would be 5. Yep, so that's what I'll do. Take a look at their hand. I see that falling away, contagious fear, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Flight into Egypt. Protect good nativity cards from harm until end of turn. So notably protects Bethlehem Stable. That's a good nativity card. So they can't like outsiders underdeck that. Then Virgin Birth, I can activate the star ability. Look at the top 6. 1, 2, 3, keeping them in order. 4, 5, 6. Ooh, Glory of the Lord is nice. Yeah, I'll pick up a Glory of the Lord here. Why not? Those back on top, underdeck Virgin Birth. And then John the Forerunner. I'm going to top deck the Three Woes. And then Star Bethlehem, I get to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. One of them being Three Woes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Distressed. All right. We got that's a pretty good turn one. What do you think? What do you think? Because let's see. In summary, what I've done on turn one, I've got Resurrection Revealer, negate their neutrals. I've got Herodias plus a Herod, restrict them from searching reserve. I have double hand protection, Bethlehem Stable plus crowds. I have Distressed, negate characters in other territories. I have Color Guard, protecting these guys from harm, and Dole, if they're searching in battle, I get to search stuff. And after I'm done, I'm gonna play Sheol, and I have Three Woes and Glory of the Lord here. All right, opponents, your block. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Only 12 cards in hand, no big deal. All right, so I could go, if I'm the Disciples player, what am I thinking? I could go Herod Agrippa, negate John the Fisherman, hope they don't have a negate for me. That seems kind of weak. I could go Deceiver to go get Outsiders, which I can't underdeck any of their Nativity stuff, so I could just hit John, Resurrection Revealer. I could go Deceiver, go get Herod the Great, get Herod's Temple, Herod the Great, choose Resurrection Revealer to attack and do a toss, and then enter a toss battle with them where I could toss Contagious Fear at his Revealer, but they could just Three Woes the Temple, and then they could play enhancements, but they'd have to have a silver enhancement that actually killed Herod. We know they have flight, but I don't have flight. I don't have hand advantage. Oh wait, though these are protected from harm, so Herod the Great couldn't push them out of battle anyways. So Herod the Great's not really an option here. Herod Archelaus is not a good block. I could go. Maybe I'm just supposed to go Deceiver into Outsiders and just try to draw a bunch of cards, like draw 5 cards, because I don't think there's a way I'm successfully blocking this. Like Deceiver into Outsiders, draw a bunch of cards, maybe draw another enhancement, played 2 enhancements. Oh, but they have Glory of the Lord, so that's not going to work if they glory me. I feel like if I'm the Disciples player, the best thing I can do is here is draw, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. Because Outsiders not being able to underdeck just Resurrection Revealer, John, Herod, and Herodias. That doesn't seem that good, but maybe it's worth it. As Disciples players, it feels like the game's over, Maybe I feel like cards are the only way I can get back in this somehow. Okay, maybe I go Malachite Slave, capture this to my land of bondage, and then go get Outsiders, because I don't want to draw Malachite Slave right now. Outsiders will draw 5 cards. Oh, wait. I can do Outsiders, draw 5 cards, but then they can woes it, which will negate the draw 5. But I don't know if opponent wants to do that. Maybe they do because they want to get hand size down. But I think if I'm the Disciples player, I'm happy with them wosing on good, because then, wosing on evil, my evil cards, because there's a lot more good cards that are negatable, like Herod's Temple and Stable and stuff like that. All right, so Outsider's going to block, draw 5 cards. I don't know. If you're a Disciples player here, I don't know what you do. All right, drew the Shepherd's Lost Soul, drew Second Coming, Joanna, Into the Earth, Herod's Temple, the Ascension. All right, is it my initiative? Disciples players asking. And as the Nativity player, I feel like it's pretty safe to give them initiative, unless I wanted to woes their draw 5. I feel like that's worth. I'm gonna play woes as good, so good woes. I'll put this by stable. I'll negate the draw 5 here. 2. As the Nativity player, I'm trying to get down cards from my hand, and if I can keep my opponent low on resources, I'm pretty confident I can win this game. So negate the draw. Your initiative opponent. If they try to play Contagious Fear, that's going to get tossed. So Outsider's just going to die. We're going to give the. Oh yeah, sorry. I got to do Shepherds. Let me do Shepherds first. Oh wait, Shepherds is negated from Resurrection Revealer, so never mind. I'll give you Darkness. All right, and Nativity has a Lost Soul boat. All right, Nativity. I'm gonna put my characters back down and go to my discard phase. 1, 2, 11. Let's definitely put down Sheol. Punish searching by underdecking. We can put down a face down artifact, the cross. I'll do that over here. 1, 2. I feel like Flight into Egypt's pretty safe. Discard that. Although there might be an argument for keeping it in my hand, so I could shuffle it back in my deck with Moses or underdeck it with the Grumbled Lost Soul. So maybe I just put down Herod's Executioner instead. Or sorry, Herod's Guard. and just keep this as, like maybe I'll draw Moses next turn. All right, down to 8 cards in hand. I'm going to pass the turn to the Disciples. Disciples, they're going to draw 3. They do Second Coming, Joanna, Ends of the Earth, which is currently negated. Okay, so I accidentally had paused the recording. I don't know how much of the game I lost, but I don't know. Maybe it was boring anyways. Let's just say Nativity's been slowly just powering through, and the Disciples haven't been able to do anything really as far on the blocking side and offensively. I was just talking about how Nativity, this particular build exploits a couple weaknesses of Disciples. Herodias is really good at shutting down their access to cards that they need, like Send the Helper, like You Will Remain, His Sacrifice, and Resurrection Revealer. Also, like being able to negate the Book of the Covenant is big too, and also that just shuts down a lot of the blocking power of the deck. Herod's Executioner plus Feudal Inquisition is like really good. So if I'm shutting off getting to the reserve, that's a big deal. They can't even get their lost child found, which could bounce, Herodias. And also like the fact that I have Color Guard protecting Herodias from, just shenanigans is good. And then I think I forced them to like play their Three Woes early to try and catch up in cards. And not being able to Three Woes Herodias is a big deal. Um, Another weakness of the Disciples deck is also the cross. So, if I had the cross up this turn, imagine how weak their attack would be. They couldn't play this, they couldn't play this. Basically, I have Herod's Temple kind of acting like my pseudo cross, where I'm tossing their stuff if they block. Or sorry, if I attack and I just block with like Herod Agrippa. And Dole's also really good against Disciples. So I feel like I'm tuning my deck to beat the Disciples matchup. I feel like I have the tools to beat them. Shield's really good. The add to battle is really good. Herod's Daughter being able to underdeck stuff in their territory is nice. Executioner equipping the Foreign Spear to take out something in their territory is nice. Protecting Resurrection Revealer is really good. So yeah, I feel like the game's pretty much over at this point. I don't feel like the Disciples can get a good attack in if 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 I block correctly here. Mary's just doing so much work for the Nativity player, getting card advantage every turn. It really didn't come up much against in this game, but being able to go like back to back Flight into Egypt star abilities, like chaining multiple of these together in a game is really strong. Having giant attacks that are protected. I don't know if they paused the recording, but I was able to go like on one turn, get Coming Prince from my reserve somehow, and then use Coming Prince to put this on top of my deck. Attack with Joseph is that hand advantage. Joseph would go grab this, and then I would play this and get this star ability from my discard pile. And this deck also has ways of putting this card back in my deck, like the Grumbled Lost Soul and Moses. So that's another way to get more uses out of that card too. But all this to say, I could have seen this game going much differently if Disciples play on turn 1, if they had that Son of God that could have rescued Crowds. And if Crowds was out of the picture, who knows what would have happened. Because I'm forgetting exactly how many brigades I had in my hand on turn 1. I know I had John, so that's at least 3, 5. So maybe like Matthew would have drawn like 7 cards. And like imagine how much more Disciples would have been able to do if they had 7 more cards. Like if they had been the ones to get out Akeem early, they would have shut off, Dole. They would have shut off Color Guard. Imagine if they were the ones who drew their Distressed, and that would have negated Res Revealer, which would have, been able to do Book, because I would have negated the Herodias. Just the fact that so much came down to that random Herod Archelaus top taking Son of God. The matchup was so swingy, and or even just like the die roll. Like, imagine if Nativity had gone first, and I got that huge pop off turn, and if I'd gone first, I could have gotten Stable into play, and then Matthews, it's their turn, and they're looking like, oh great, Stable's in play. What am I gonna do? I hope to draw my 3 woes right now. So like, maybe at the end of the day, maybe I should just feel like this matchup can go either way depending upon how the first turn plays out. And I need to feel confident that I have the tools to beat Matthew. And if I lose to them, knowing that, sure, like that's just how redemption is sometimes with how much variance can affect the outcome of games. And it's crazy how much redemption, how much just a little bit of variance can affect everything. Like if I didn't top deck that Son of God turn one, this game might have been much closer. But instead, it's looking like it's turning into just a 5-0. So again, sorry about me pausing the game, but maybe that was for a good. Sorry, the pausing the recording, but maybe that was actually good in retrospect because I've been sitting here blabbing, taking some solitaire turns, and the game probably gotten past the point where it's interesting, and now it's just me trying to find the most optimal lines. I guess there's one more thing I wanted to discuss. There was a turn where I was trying to decide whether to go for the good seed, just playing that down, or going for the turn where I could go coming prince into star, into protected attack. Against this particular Herod's deck, because they have so many cards, like, it depends upon the flavor of Herod deck, but this deck was running Contagious Fear and Feudal Inquisition in the main deck. And if they just blocked, with somebody really small against a big banding chain, cards like Feudal Inquisition, Contagious Fear, they'll just end my rescue attempt. But if I have good seed in play, after they block, before they can play enhancement, I can go, like Simeon, and then Simeon can bandit John to toss to next, in theory. So that would force them to have two enhancements to break through that. Also, maybe, yeah, this deck doesn't really have a lot of outs to battle enders like that. Feudal Inquisition or Contagious Fear. Like, this deck isn't running cards that protect lost souls from evil characters. Trying to think if there's any way besides, Simeon banning to John to get around what they were doing. It's really unfortunate, though, from the disciples. The only card they had in their hand to block was the Herod Agrippa. And when Herod Agrippa is put into battle, it puts both people in stalemate. So that would give the rescuer the opportunity to play first. And so, Nativity just has to use their battle winner. And like, what's Herod gonna do with two of these in their hand if they're getting put in special initiative? And what's Falling Away gonna do? Also, I think I should have Falling Away Res Revealer earlier on as disciples. Just opening up the reserve again, or sorry, opening up neutrals again would have given me some outs with Lost Souls. And I know Herodias was shutting off reserve, but okay, so yeah, thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, see you around.